Hello YouTube. I will tell you today of things that few others talk about, but the subject matter is important and deserves diligent research. My information mainly comes from the Russian sources, and it's about India. You see, India has been of interest to Russian philosophers and intellectuals, like for example Ivan Yefremov, who, as I told on numerous occasions, was suspected by the Soviet secret police to be an alien or an extraterrestrial. Well, he knew India's past and philosophies very well. Or Nicholas Roerich. That's another great Russian personality who knew quite a lot. You will find the information about them in my videos on this channel. And there are others, not only in the bygone days. And by the way, they know about my research in India as well. Look, if I mispronounce Indian names, I'm sorry. But also, here's something else that few people know. The striking similarities in Sanskrit and Russian indicate that during some period of history, the speakers of the two languages lived close together. The two languages have two broad similarities. One, Russian is the only European language that shares a strong common grammatical base with Sanskrit. Secondly, both Russian and Sanskrit are pleasing to the ear. The very name Sanskrit means carefully constructed, systematically formed, polished and refined. For example, colonial era linguist William Jones wrote down that Sanskrit language is of wondrous structure, more perfect than the Greek, more copious than the Latin, and more exquisitely refined than either. Well, admirers of Russian are equally liberal with their praise. So what explains the similarities? Vedic Sanskrit was spoken as late as 300 BC, but its antiquity may stretch back thousands of years from that date. Russian may either be the result of ancient Indians taking their language and culture from the banks of the Saraswati River to the banks of the Ob River. The discovery of Shiva statues in Central Asia and Russia points to the spread of Hindu culture far beyond the Indian heartland. There are many Russian names and words in Russian, the origin of which can easily be traced with the help of the Sanskrit language. But now we go to the caves. About 40 kilometers northeast from the town of Gaya in the Indian state of Bihar, in the hilly area near Makhdumpur, 25 kilometers south of Jehanabad district, in the midst of an absolutely flat, so to say, yellow-green plain, stands a small rocky ridge about 3 kilometers long. In the rocks of this ridge is a cave monastery, Barabar, the oldest surviving in India. 4 caves carved in the rock belong to the reign of King Ashoka the Great, the first monarch to adopt Buddhism as the official religion. The caves themselves, the gift of King Ashoka to this sect, which says the inscription on one of the walls. The biggest mystery caves of Barabar are perfectly polished walls, a perfect semicircular shape. In its central part is the oldest in Indian man-made caves, a group of rocky hill, like I said, and they're called Barabar. About 1.5 kilometers away to the east is another location of these caves, belonging to the historical period of Barabar, a rocky hill named Nagarjuni. Most often both of these places are referred to under one general name, the Caves of Barabar. Well, Barabar caves are the collection of seven stone-cut caves. These caves are situated on the twin slopes named Barabar and Nagarjuni. All of the Barabar caves are carved from what you can call granite, and also feature 2 chambers, both with a polished surface area, totally lacking some type of embellishments or sculpture. As for the Nagarjuna caves, these bear inscriptions of King Dasarata, the grandson of Ashoka. Like the Barabar caves, these appear to have been dedicated to the Ajivika sect. Well, the group of Barabar consists of 4 caves, and the group of Nagarjuna, there are 3. The caves date back to the time of the great Mauryan Empire. They were constructed during the reign of Emperor Ashoka. So we're looking approximately 268 to 232 BC. And of course his successor Dasarata, I think he lived from 232, reigned from 232 to 225 BC. Along with 2 caves, Sonbhandar in Rajgir, they are the most ancient cave temples of India, but there is a difference, I understand. Lomas Rishi cave, this is reportedly the most popular Barabar cave. The decorative arch above the entrance or facade of Lomas Rishi cave was made in the imitation of the wooden architecture of the time. This became a constant feature in the later Chaitas and is known as Chaita arch. It also continued as a decorative motif in later temples. Sudama cave. This cave known for the bow-shaped arches and has Ashokan inscriptions. Karan Chaupar. It has a single rectangular room with polished surfaces, contains inscription dating back to the Maurya era. And Vishwa Zopri. Well, there are 2 rectangular caves over there. One of the most interesting features of these rock structures is that they were neither Buddhist nor Hindu nor Jain and belonged to a now defunct, as far as I understand, sect of philosophers Shramana ascetics. The caves of Barabar are the only construction associated with this lost philosophical or religious tradition, Ajivika. The third heterodox, meaning not in agreement with the accepted beliefs, especially like in church doctrine or dogma. Well, the sect which arose simultaneously with Buddhism and Jainism were Ajivika, a group of ascetics related like the Jains to the harsh discipline, and also they renounce any clothing as far as I understand. Ajivika texts did not reach us, and we know about them only from Buddhist and Jain polemics against the sect. Teachings of Ajivika was clearly atheistic and differed consistent with determinism. The traditional teachings on karma, as we know, argues that the human condition is determined by its past deeds, while the man himself can affect their destiny in the present and the future with the help of proper behavior. While Ajivika denied it, they believe that there is an impersonal cosmic principle, niyati or fate, which defines everything in the world down to the smallest detail. Therefore, the influence of the process of transmigration is impossible in their teaching. Yet the amazing thing about the caves of Barabar is not their unique antiquity, not even belonging to long extinct Shramana mysterious sect, not the great accuracy of the geometry of space that affects the quality and polishing of granite walls and arches, and the fact that these unusual structures were designed and built as acoustic cave rooms for meditation. You see, the first 3 caves carved in a long rounded rock stretch out from the east to the west for 200 meters and surprisingly similar in its shape to a giant submarine. The ascent comes directly from the soil. The rocks were gneiss, metamorphic rock, solid externally, and its properties are very similar to granite. So we will use the word granite here. The path leads to the northern side of the rock, where one cave, Karan Chopar, the cave is dated to 244 BC, as on the entrance doorway is the inscription. This cave was built 19 years after the ascension of Emperor Ashoka. The cave is a simple rectangular entrance doorway, which immediately draws the attention because of absolute geometry and the ideal treatment. The cave is very peculiar. Probably nothing of the sort among the religious buildings of the world can be found whether within a single bas-relief, statues, whatever. Instead, this is a room with a perfectly designed geometric dimensions and a marvelous polishing. Well, again, recall that all of this is carved in granite monolith in the 3rd century BC, with a fairly impressive dimensions. The length is 10.4 meters, width is 4.3 meters, height is about 3.3 meters. Here is something that a Russian tourist who visited there described. Then it was the most amazing thing. The guide went to the side of the cave and yelled out a few words, after which the cave was filled with some artful sounds. Many of them were obviously new, not connected with what was said by that person. Still a little stunned, we began to experiment with sound, loudly pronouncing the phrase with different inflections and intervals, or clapping hands. You do not have time to finish the phrase. You immediately are enveloped by the interweaving of a variety of sounds, some like a muted conversation, exclamations, the noise of the street, etc. Other cause some familiar but hard to swallow associations. Very interesting and unexpected was the appearance of some not very intuitive and even strange feelings, standing in a pitch black cave, barely visible corners and walls, and it is palpable as if it flies around you. Truly a psychedelic of some sort. By the way, all caves are indeed very dark. All lighting is fluorescent light through the front doorway, and the candle, which was lit by the guide or caretaker in the next cave. Photos were made with flash. The autofocus basically is on your spouse, who has a handle, and then decently fine-tuned. The result of our exercise was that the spouse still is absolutely sure that the inside of the cave, she heard the noise of everyday village, which is at the bottom, people's voices, cows moving, children laughing, etc. And that it got inside either through the door or something. All my attempts to dissuade her with the help of physics and logic so far were to no avail. Any arguments are powerless if the person really hears or has something that is heard by them. Imagine in a dark cave with acoustics like this for hours, circling, breaking up into harmonic and interwoven again into something else. Surrounding sound from repeated with a certain rhythm and chanting in different voices. It's just chill. You have just understood the essence of the experiences of ancient those who meditate. How fascinating the singing of monks must have been there. When the visitor meditated on the nature of this miracle, he much regretted that he had not made some measurements of the attenuation on the stopwatch clock, and did not try to listen more closely to what disintegrated simple sounds, vowel, and so forth. He can only say that the total sound attenuation occurs approximately within 5 to 6 seconds. Some visitors to the area have no doubts that all caves Barabar and Nagarjuni were created as special acoustic halls. Apparently the ancient builders knew how, what and where to build the premises for such an amazing reverberation. All the caves are carved in the monolith, virtually identical in size and internal geometry. Wall, roof and floor were polished with the highest quality. Even the perfectly rectangular openings of all the caves are the same. Apparently there was some meaning. Probably it served as resonator halls. So there is no doubt that they were intended only for meditation or any ritual actions, and the ascetics lived somewhere nearby. From what modern scholars write, we can understand that Ajivika and their ritual practices, there is nothing that we really know about them. So the question is, will we ever know why the sect shramana of ascetics needed to create such high tech? And most importantly, why create this time-consuming so-called music box in the caves? Other caves of Sudama and Lomas Rishi have similar dimensions, but they're always two connected rooms. The polished walls are the cause of the same acoustic properties that were the basis of the psychedelic experiences of the builders of the time. Lomas Rishi cave remained unfinished, and work on the fourth cave, Visvakarma, was only begun. The most interesting portal in Lomas Rishi cave, that's where it's located. It is decorated with a carved line of elephants. There are two caves on the opposite southern side of the rock. To get to them, you must climb to the crest of the cliff by the stone stairs located near the entrance to the Karanchaupar, and descend on the opposite side. A much more interesting way to the cave over the rocks and downhill are on the Ashoka steps right into the village. The Ashoka steps is the track leading from the caves to the village path, and it consists of rectangular notches cut on the surface of rocks at the same period, it's 3rd century BC, as the caves themselves. To summarize, no other rock-cut caves in any part of India can claim equal antiquity, and those of the succeeding centuries witness to the steady growth of technical skill and design on the part of their craftsmen. For this reason, to some, it can be concluded that Barabar caves represent the beginning of the tradition of rock-cut architecture in India. Most caves in Barabar are comprised of two chambers, cut entirely out of rock, with a profoundly cleaned interior surface and energizing reverberation impact. The first was intended, we surmise, for admirers to gather in an enormous rectangular lobby. The second, a little round domed room for the adoration. This inward chamber most likely had a small stupa-like structure. However, they are reportedly presently vacant. Well, to my audience, as for the stupa and its resemblance to a hypothetical high-tech aircraft of the ancients, please see my video on the subject. The link is provided. I wonder if this leads us to the fascinating secret society of 9 men, and if the caves of Barabar contain, hidden somewhere inside, or maybe under, that accumulated knowledge of the ages. I can only surmise. But let me tell you about the Ashoka secret society of 9 men. This is my second video about this. The link to my first one is in the description to this video too. Well, the Nine Unknown Men is a secret society founded by the Mauryan Emperor Ashoka around 270 BC to preserve and develop knowledge that would be dangerous to humanity if it fell into the wrong hands. The Nine Unknown Men were entrusted with guarding 9 books of secret knowledge. Well, it is said that the Emperor Ashoka, once aware of the horrors of war, wished to forbid men ever to put their intelligence to evil uses. During his reign, natural science, past and present, was vowed to be kept in secrecy. Henceforward, and for the next 2000 years, all research, ranging from the structure of matter to the techniques employed in collective psychology, were to be hidden behind the mystical mask of people commonly believed to be exclusively concerned with ecstasy and supernatural phenomena. Ashoka founded the most powerful society on earth, that of the Nine Unknown Men. Think about the greatest emperor the Indian subcontinent ever had, and the name that comes first to mind is that name, Emperor Ashoka, the third ruler of the Maurya dynasty, and the grandson of Emperor Chandragupta Maurya. When Chandragupta Maurya established his empire in 322 BC, he would have never thought that one day his grandson would take over and expand the Maurya Empire beyond its horizons. Legends say that Ashoka's empire was the greatest of all the empires in terms of land, army, finance, education, trade, and quality of living. Ashoka was also famous for converting to and promoting Buddhism, but during his eighth year of the reign, he fought his last war, the Kalinga War. Seeing the aftermath of the war, which he won, he was in a state of horror, shock, and depression. It was then that he decided to convert to Buddhism. He made efforts to spread Buddhism throughout India, Malaysia, Ceylon, or Sri Lanka today, and Indonesia. It was his efforts that Buddhism later came to China, so to say, Nepal, Tibet, and Mongolia. He also realized that the true power is in knowledge. So he started his mission to seek to prevent the people and his fellow men around him from putting their intelligence towards evil, particularly the evil involved with the warfare. He thought that the task of collecting, preserving, and containing all knowledge was too great for one emperor or for one man to do alone. So he summoned 9 of the most brilliant minds in India at that time. The identity of those 9 men was kept a secret for their own security. Ashoka asked this genius, 9 men, to form a secret society. Well, this society, as I said, came to be known as the Nine Unknown Men. One can imagine the extraordinary importance of secret knowledge in the hands of 9 men, benefiting directly from experiments, studies, and documents accumulated over a period of more than 2,000 years. What can have been the aim of these men? Not to allow methods of destruction to fall into the hands of unqualified persons, and to pursue knowledge which would benefit mankind. Their numbers would be renewed by co-option, so as to preserve the secrecy of techniques handed down from ancient times. Each of the 9 is supposedly responsible for guarding and improving a single book. These books each deal with a different branch of potentially hazardous knowledge. Traditionally, the books are said to cover the following subjects: propaganda and psychological warfare is a concerted set of messages aimed at influencing the opinions or behavior of large numbers of people. Instead of impartially providing information, propaganda in its most basic sense presents information in order to influence its audience. It is the most dangerous of all sciences, as it is capable of molding mass opinion. It would enable anyone to govern the whole world. Physiology is the study of the mechanical, physical, and biochemical functions of living organisms. The book that book of the 9 including instructions on how to perform the touch of death. Death being caused by a reversal of the nerve impulse. One account has says that judo was a product of material leaked from this book. Microbiology, and according to the more recent speculation, biotechnology. In some versions or types of the myth, the waters of the Ganges are purified with special microbes designed by the 9 and released into the river as a secret base in the Himalayas. Multitudes of pilgrims suffering from the most appalling diseases bathe in them without harming the healthy ones. The sacred waters purify everything. Their strange properties have been attributed to the fact that they contain bacteriophages. But why would this not be done in Brahmaputra, the Amazon, the Seine, the Volga, or other rivers? Alchemy, including the transmutation of metals. In India, there is a persistent rumor that during times of drought or other natural disasters, temples and religious organizations receive large quantities of gold from an unknown source. The mystery is further deepened with the fact that the sheer quantity of gold throughout the country in temples and with kings cannot be properly accounted for, seeing that India has few gold mines. Communication, including that's the book about communication, including communication with extraterrestrials. Gravitation, the Vaiminaka Sastra is said to contain the instructions necessary to build a Vimana, sometimes referred to as the ancient UFOs of India. Cosmology, the capacity to travel at enormous speeds through the space-time fabric, and time travel, including intra- and inter-universal journeys. Light, the capacity to increase and decrease the speed of light, to use it as a weapon by concentrating it in a certain direction, etc. Sociology, including rules concerning the evolution of societies and how to predict their downfall. Well, but were the 9 unknown men real? Was this a real society? Well, an ancient group living in a secrecy for over 2,000 years is hard to believe for some people. For many, this legend is most likely just a legend. Well, look at my other video, see if you can pick up some more insights and who in other lands could be part of this society. And make up your own mind. I'm not going to tell you what I think. As for the caves, here's what I was told if you plan to visit there. You can reach there just by private vehicles, as no government transportations means exist to go to that spot. Barabar caves are situated on the hill, and visitors need to move up to the stairs to investigate this legacy site. The best ideal opportunity time to visit Barabar caves is between October and March. Look, there's more about India's magnificent past that I will describe in my future videos. Just please remember that the past is interconnected with the present and may be building the future. It's more than an exotic country, India. It possesses knowledge that should be more available to other people in the world, but it's not India's fault that people know not that much about this country, but enough. enough in some circles. And again, my interest is mainly due to Russian research of India, and I hope to bring more information in the future. If you can support my research, I would appreciate it. You can find the links in the description to this video. Please like my channel and subscribe. Thank you.